If you've got a voice, then pull up a seat. Real talk drops with every beat. No echo chamber, no disguise. Welcome to the Dead Mike Society.
Welcome to Dead Mike Society. I'm Dan, and today we have a really interesting show. I wanted to talk about scammers. It seems like everywhere you go, there's a scam now. And some scams are really obvious, and other scams are way more complicated. I know we've all received the email or the messenger scam for cryptocurrency. And I know a few of us, if not all of us, have gotten the email scam to send money to release funds from a Nigerian prince. But another scam that's really interesting is when you meet someone and you become friends and you start to build a rapport and a dialogue and you start to spend time together. Maybe you go have some beers or you go play pool. And eventually it turns into, hey, I know this guy who has $500 million, or I know a guy who's a tech millionaire, or I know someone who has a great investment. And you start to think, well, this might be a good idea because this person seems trustworthy. But in reality, it's actually one of the biggest scams that can happen. And if you don't have your guard up, you can fall for it. And what happens is you invest, you give them your hard-earned money. You think, you know what? They're a nice person. They have some really funny stories. We can have a hamburger together or whatever. And before you know it, that money's not enough. Send me more money. This investment isn't working out. We were going to hire more people. We needed to advertise more. And before you know it, you're bankrupt. You're spending all your money on this bogus investment and you're dry. And then when you go to your friend and you try to say, hey, I want to get back some of this money I invested, they're long gone. They're in another state. They don't know what you're doing. They're on to the next person. So I want to remind the listeners of Dead Mike Society and just people in general, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Here's a hypothetical. You're out somewhere and meet somebody. They're cool. They're friendly. Conversation is easy. Then casually you start hearing, I know this guy who's worth 50 million. We made a killing on this investment. My buddy owns this company, or I sold this company. None of those statements proves anything is wrong. Some successful people actually talk like that. But here's my question. Why does this person need me to believe they're successful? That's something I've started to think about. Because if you're trying to establish your financial credibility with somebody you barely know, my red flags go up and I ask, why? Maybe there's perfectly reasonable explanation, but now I'm paying closer attention. Here's another scenario. Someone meets you and doesn't ask for a dime. First conversation, nothing. Second conversation, nothing. Maybe they even buy you a drink or do something nice for you. Now you start thinking, this person's cool. Then eventually they say, hey, I have this opportunity. And because you already know them, it doesn't feel like a sales pitch. That's powerful. If a stranger asked you for $5,000, your defenses go up. If someone you consider a friend tells you about an opportunity, it's a completely different psychology. The investment didn't necessarily become safer. The person delivering the message became more trusted. There's another psychological piece to this. You want to reciprocate. Someone does something for you, and naturally you feel like you should do something for them. They buy dinner, bring you something, introduce you to somebody, help you with something. Again, normal people do these things every day. It doesn't automatically mean anything. The question is what happens afterward, because generosity can be genuine, but generosity can also create obligation. And that's why I don't think you should judge one individual behavior. Look for a pattern. Here's another one. I'm working with celebrities. My business partner is a millionaire. I know the owner. We have investments. We're connected with the company. That's social proof. They're basically saying other important people trust me. Therefore, you can trust me. But there's a huge difference between somebody mentioning something naturally and somebody repeatedly needing you to understand how connected they are. So now I ask myself, can I independently verify any of this? Because someone's confidence isn't evidence. Here's the biggest thing I've realized. Instead of asking, does this person seem trustworthy? Maybe we should ask, what would I believe about the situation if I didn't like this person? Take the personality out of it. Take the charisma out. Take the nice clothes out. Take the car out. Take the stories out. Take the connections out. What's actually left? Because sometimes we're not evaluating the opportunity, we're evaluating how much we like the person presenting it. Those aren't the same thing. I also don't want everybody to become paranoid because imagine meeting someone successful and every time they mention their business, you're thinking scammer. That's ridiculous. Networking exists, investments exist, people make new friends, people help strangers, people talk about money. None of that proves anything. So, what's the line? For me, it's when several things start stacking up. The stories are incredible. Money keeps entering the conversation. There's constant name dropping. There's an opportunity coming, and there's pressure. Something needs to happen quickly. You're discouraged from independently verifying things, or you start noticing inconsistencies with their stories. One thing might mean nothing, five things. Now I'm actually paying attention. And here's probably the simplest protection I've found: slow everything down. You don't need to accuse anybody. You don't need to confront anybody. You don't need to prove they're a scammer. Just don't move. I'll think about it. I'll search it. Send me the information. I need to talk to someone first. A legitimate opportunity should survive you doing your homework. And if somebody gets angry because you want to verify something involving your money, that tells you something. Maybe this isn't really an episode about scams. Maybe it's about trust. We live in a world where we're constantly meeting people online through business, social media, networking, dating apps, bars, events, you name it. And we're making decisions about people incredibly quickly, sometimes correctly, sometimes not. So maybe the goal isn't to never trust anybody. Maybe it's this: trust people slowly. You can like somebody immediately. You can enjoy talking to them immediately, but trust, let them earn that. So I want to hear from the Dead Mike Society listeners. Have you ever had somebody approach you with something that seemed completely legitimate, and then later you realized something wasn't right? Or maybe you caught it before anything happened? Tell me the best scam somebody ever tried on you. And here's the real question: would you know you were being scammed before they asked for the money? I'm Dan. This is Dead Mike Society. And sometimes the biggest red flag isn't somebody asking you for money. It's somebody spending a lot of time convincing you that you should trust them. I'll see you on the next episode.
If you've got a voice, then pull up a seat. Real talk drops with every beat. No echo chamber, no disguise. Welcome to the Dead Mike Society.